Psychiatry is undergoing, well, one of the most significant transformations we've seen in decades.
It really is.
We are moving so swiftly away from these historical models that relied on, broad symptomatic approaches and straight into the era of digital health connectivity and really crucially precision medicine.
And for providers like you, I mean, clinicians who are already using transcranial magnetic stimulation or TMS, you're already ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
You understand the power of neuromodulation to impact neural circuits directly. But the context around TMS is just, it's changing so rapidly.
That's our mission today.
Exactly. Our mission is to dissect the collective research, the market analysis available to us, and really identify the core trends that are going to define TMS practice, its value, and its strategic placement over, say, the next 5 years.
We're going to be talking about how TMS, which was once considered this incredibly powerful but sometimes siloed treatment, is about to become an absolute cornerstone of future psychiatric practice.
And what's fascinating here is that the discussion really centers on how TMS is positioned to become a fundamental component of what the sources are calling precision psychiatry.
Precision psychiatry.
Yeah. This shift involves seamlessly aligning targeted neuromodulation with all these emerging digital technologies. It's not just an adjunct treatment anymore. It's bridging that historical gap between, symptom management and a truly neuroscience-driven biological intervention.
And before we jump into all of that, into this rapid evolution ahead, we just want to mention that this discussion is brought to you by the Blossom TMS team at http://blossomtms.com.
Okay.
Okay, so let's unpack this transformation. I think we should start with the past. For so long, mental health care relied on approaches that were frankly generalized.
Oh, absolutely.
You had psychotherapy and pharmacotherapy based largely on DSM syndrome categorization. And while they're effective for many, we all know the significant limitations, especially when patients are resistant to first-line treatments.
And that lack of specificity is the critical barrier that precision psychiatry is aiming to just smash. Psychiatry's reach has expanded so dramatically because of digital tools.
You mean things like telepsychiatry?
Yes, think telepsychiatry, AI-driven screening apps, and especially the increased use of robust, patient-facing wearable devices. These tools make data collection and remote delivery just easier than ever.
So we have all this new data and better remote reach, which is great for diagnostics, for monitoring, but the treatment itself still has to address the underlying neural dysfunction, correct?
Absolutely. The digital tools offer data, measurement, a massive expansion of reach. We can call it the digital dashboard.
I like that, the digital dashboard.
But they cannot, by themselves, directly address the biological underpinnings of a psychiatric illness. And this is where TMS aligns so seamlessly.
Okay.
Because of its inherent ability to target and modulate specific brain circuits, it fits perfectly into this evolving digital infrastructure. It acts as the targeted biological engine.
So the sources are suggesting that when you combine the fine-grained data from that digital dashboard with the targeted intervention of the biological engine, it moves TMS beyond just a specialty option.
It does. It firmly establishes it as the core mechanism of action for precision psychiatry.
It's that combination of insight and intervention that really makes the difference.
Precisely. The digital provides the insight, the measurement, that quantitative feedback loop. TMS provides the targeted intervention that adjusts the functional connectivity and excitability of the brain circuits themselves.
And the synergy is what providers really need to understand because it dictates the rapid changes we're seeing.
It does. And that brings us to what providers need to be focusing on right now. The source material outlines 4 critical pillars that are going to define the future of TMS over the next 5 years.
So these are the areas where we'll see the most growth, but also where clinical practice will require some significant adaptation.
Right. So pillar number 1, and this is, well, it's arguably the most technically demanding, is personalization through biomarkers. We are moving away from relying solely on established protocols based on these large population studies, the 10 hertz high-frequency standard, for example. And we're moving toward protocols tailored precisely to an individual patient's biology.
So this is where we genuinely abandon that trial and error approach. But for an existing TMS clinic, what specific biomarkers are the sources indicating will be the most actionable within this 5-year window?
Well, the collective research points very heavily toward advanced neuroimaging measures, specifically resting state functional MRI, or RSFMRI connectivity.
Oh, fMRI.
Knowing how an individual patient's default mode network, or say frontal limbic circuits, are dysregulated allows for coil placement and stimulation parameters based on the actual functional anatomy, not just scalp measurements. And what's more, the sources suggest genetic markers, like specific polymorphisms of the BDNF gene, may soon help us stratify responders from non-responders even before the first session.
That's a massive leap in accuracy. But integrating fMRI data, which is, time-consuming and expensive, that seems like it could slow down patient intake dramatically. Are we sacrificing accessibility for accuracy here?
That is a critical challenge, and the sources acknowledge that. Full fMRI integration for every single patient just isn't scalable today.
Right.
However, they forecast the rise of sophisticated algorithmic tools that can predict those Rs fMRI connectivity patterns based on simpler, standardized clinical or even EEG data.
So it's a workaround.
It's a bridge. It eventually makes functional targeting highly accurate without the immediate expense or the time commitment of a dedicated scan for every patient.
That's fascinating. So the goal is to leverage that data, which I guess leads us directly into pillar number 2, deep integration with digital platforms.
This is where that digital dashboard becomes truly dynamic. I mean,
Yeah.
think about the wearables patients are already using,
Mm.
the ones that track highly sensitive metrics like sleep architecture, mood logging, and especially heart rate variability, or HRV.
Which is such a powerful proxy for autonomic nervous system regulation.
Exactly. And that data is no longer just for observation.
So how does that real-time data flow back to the treatment itself?
The research indicates we're moving toward digital platforms that use machine learning to synthesize that continuous monitoring data
Mm-hmm.
and then recommend adjustments to TMS sessions.
Okay.
So if a patient's HRV drops sharply, indicating high stress or poor recovery, the platform might suggest a modification in intensity or even a temporary shift in target area to mitigate anxiety circuits.
Whoa, hang on a second. Real-time adjustments? Are you saying we're talking about, like, automating treatment changes?
Well, not entirely.
Because that immediately brings up some pretty significant liability questions, right? About algorithms and error rates and who makes the final call.
That's the key distinction. The sources are very clear that the technology is designed to recommend modifications, not automate them completely, at least not in the near term.
So that's a support tool.
It serves as a highly advanced clinical decision support tool. The major technical hurdle for providers isn't really the data collection. It's establishing secure, HIPAA-compliant platforms that can integrate all these different data streams, EHRs, wearables, TMS device logs, into one cohesive, useful view.
All while keeping the data clean for billing and regulators.
Exactly. This feedback loop, though, is what allows us to quantify patient progress with just unprecedented granularity.
Okay, let's look at pillar 3, which for me is maybe the most exciting for expanding the utility of PMS, expanding indications beyond the current FDA clearances.
Absolutely. The current state is primarily treatment-resistant depression and OCD. But the research trajectory is incredibly broad. The sources suggest that the clinical data supporting new indications is accumulating very, very rapidly.
And that's fueled by these precision targeting methods we just talked about.
Precisely.
So what specific conditions are nearing that clinical adoption threshold in this 5-year forecast?
We're seeing significant trials in PTSD, particularly targeting the prefrontal control over the amygdala. There's also very promising work in bipolar disorder, specifically modulating excitability during depressive phases, and a massive movement in substance use disorders, or SUDs.
SED is interesting.
Yeah, one key paper we analyzed highlighted that targeting the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the DLPFC, shows really compelling results in reducing both craving intensity and sustained abstinence rates in patients with comorbid depression and, say, nicotine or alcohol use disorder.
And the sources suggest this expansion could see TMS integrate as a first-line option for some of these conditions. That would completely transform patient flow in clinics.
It would. It moves TMS from being this late-stage option, after multiple medication failures, to a versatile, proactive tool used much earlier in the treatment cascade.
Especially when you suspect circuit dysfunction early on.
Right, and this leads us directly into our final pillar.
Which is tackling the persistent challenge of coverage and accessibility, pillar 4. Increasing insurance coverage. Cost has historically been a major operational hurdle for everyone involved.
And the shift here is fundamentally driven by data. When outcome data grows stronger, and critically, when providers can streamline patient reporting through digital platforms that objectively demonstrate measurable improvement, it dramatically bolsters the case for reimbursement.
So the increased measurability makes it financially justifiable for payers. What kind of data are insurers specifically looking for that TMS, aided by digital monitoring, can provide?
They're moving beyond simple symptom scales. Insurers are focused on economic metrics, reductions in inpatient hospital days, quantifiable improvements in functional capacity, and verifiable lower long-term relapse rates.
Okay, that makes sense.
The sources suggest that when clinics can use the digital platform to demonstrate, say, a 20% lower one-year relapse rate compared to standard medication maintenance therapy,
Hmm.
the economic argument for expanded coverage just becomes undeniable.
That's a crucial link for accelerating accessibility across the US and, potentially globally, linking that high-quality data directly to payment justification.
Exactly. We connect this back to the bigger picture. The ability to quantify success, reduce relapse, and demonstrate functional recovery provides the economic leverage necessary to expand adoption.
And that could include more favorable reimbursement for these personalized biomarker-guided treatments.
That's the goal.
So, what does this all mean for the clinician listening right now? I mean, this evolution isn't just about integrating new gadgets. It really feels like a true paradigm shift in mental health treatment.
It is. It's merging traditional understanding with hard neuroscience and measurable outcomes. If we synthesize the core benefits mentioned in the source material, there are three primary evidence-based advantages that are positioning TMS as the foundation for this next generation of psychiatric care.
Okay, so let's ground these three advantages with the specific evidence from the research.
First, durable results. This is a massive win for patients. The research consistently shows that TMS offers durable results that translate into lower relapse rates.
Right.
For example, the sources cited a recent meta-analysis showing that patients who complete a maintenance TMS schedule alongside standard care achieved a significantly lower one-year relapse rate in some studies, as much as 20% lower compared to medication-only approaches.
And second, the safety profile.
It is inherently non-invasive, and this is the accessibility advantage. Unlike electroconvulsive therapy or ECT, TMS doesn't require anesthesia or the logistical infrastructure that comes with it.
Which makes it inherently safer.
And significantly more accessible, especially for fragile patient populations or those in remote areas who are maybe using telepsychiatry infrastructure.
And finally, the third advantage that really ties it all together with this digital transformation we've discussed.
Measurable outcomes. The digital tools we talked about allow clinicians to quantify patient progress using objective data like HRV and sleep architecture metrics, not just self-report scores. This quantifiable feedback loop is what reinforces treatment efficacy. It validates the clinical necessity, and most importantly, it supports the case for broader indications and robust insurance coverage. It turns treatment into a demonstrable success metric.
So it seems the synergy between digital psychiatry and neuromodulation therapies like TMS, it's not a fleeting trend. It feels more like a foundational restructuring of how we even define effective care.
Absolutely. The sources are clear on this. The future vision is one where TMS is not just an alternative, but a foundational element of a digital-first precision-guided model. It becomes the core biological intervention within that digital ecosystem.
That leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for you, the clinician, to take away from all this.
The coming years will see psychiatry transition, and decisively so, into a digital-first discipline. TMS is poised to become the cornerstone of evidence-based, precision-guided care within that framework. The next 5 years are not just about adopting new technology. They are about redefining what it means to treat the brain with accuracy and with compassion.
So for practices looking to stay ahead,
the sources strongly suggest that investing in advanced TMS systems now means prioritizing systems that are designed for future cloud-based data management and for rapid algorithmic coil positioning. It's about preparing your clinic for the highly integrated digital ecosystem of 2030 and beyond.
thank you for tuning into this analysis of the rapid future of TMS within precision psychiatry. And remember, this was brought to you by the Blossom TMS team at http.blossomtms.com.